Thank you for joining us in the last webinar before Christmas. I know a lot of you are probably at home or preparing or maybe purchasing last minute gifts, but thank you for taking out your time out of the week to make sure to join us here. And for those of you who've never been here before or never met me before, my name is Josh Gregory. I am the vice president of our education team here at Route Consultant. So all that means is that I'm here to help buyers understand this logistics space that you're getting into for the first time. And I also work with current contractors, current operators to help them understand their business, how to make more money, and also how to understand all of the changes that happen all of the time in these industries. Now, before I get too much farther, I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer and read this as I do every week. So Route Consultant is not endorsed by and is not recommended by Federal Express Corporation, FedEx Ground, or Amazon. Route Consultant is not sponsored by, is not approved by, is not associated with, and has no connection whatsoever with Federal Express Corporation, FedEx Ground, or Amazon. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, just so everyone knows kind of a feel for what today will be and the flow of these webinars is that we're going to go through some content, some things that we think are important for you all to know this week. And then after that, we're going to go through some upcoming events and things for you to know about around new listings. And then we're going to open it up for a pure Q&A. So at the end of today, there will be a pure Q&A where you can ask any questions that you have, whether it's something we talk about today or anything else about the industry as a whole. And at that time, when you're submitting your questions, make sure you put it in the little button at the bottom that says Q&A. If you put it in the chat button at the bottom, I'm going to miss it. So make sure you put it in the Q&A button at the bottom if you want us to answer those questions. And we will have time for you to submit those. But as I'm talking today, at any point, you can go ahead and submit your question and we will get to it once the Q&A opens. So for today, now, one of the most important things that you need to do in any business is to plan for how you ultimately plan to exit that business. And every decision that you're going to make around capital strategy, around corporation structure, growth, your fleet, everything needs to be made with that endpoint in mind so that when you can actually ultimately exit the business, you're going to do it as successfully as possible. Now, when I say exit, for some of you, that's just going to mean passing it on to a family member. So your strategy for an exit needs to be focused on how you can stabilize the business and train that person to be ready to take over when you exit. But for most people, when I say exit, that's going to be when you ultimately sell the business. So what we wanted to do today is to go through some of the things that you should be looking for and asking when you're evaluating which broker that you want to partner with in that exit journey. So to help with that conversation, I have brought on one of our sales directors, Danny Robinson. So Danny, if you want to go ahead and jump on and say hello, I'll let you start and give kind of your perspective on this, and then I'll pop back into the end for some additional tips here. So Danny, I'll kick it over to you.
Hey everyone, happy to be back again. It's been a week or so since we've got to talk, but as Josh was saying, my name is Danny Robinson. I'm one of the regional sales directors here at Route Consultant, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about what you should really be looking for in a broker, both from a seller's perspective and a buyer's perspective. So first and foremost, I think we should all understand that a broker is a person or a firm who's going to arrange a transaction between a buyer and a seller. Now, that definition leaves a lot of gray area as to what it is a broker really should be doing for you as a contractor in the FedEx Ground or Amazon or Bread space, right? So I think that it's most important for me to get across to you guys that you should be able to depend on your broker to do the following things, right? Your broker should understand the business at a high level. They should be able to tell and analyze take a look at and analyze the financials, and then use that contract information to determine the overall health of the business pretty quickly. And I think that if you have a broker that's worth their salt, they understand the business both operationally and financially at a high enough level where if you poke and prod a little bit in that first conversation, you throw some industry lingo out there and you kind of, shoot the breeze with your broker, and they can go right back and talk to you about, oh yeah, I've encountered this before, and they can empathize with those points. You found someone who understands the space that you're operating in, be it FedEx Ground or any other industry that you're in. So being able to just discuss the business as a whole at a very high level is something that's very important. Second of all, barring any wild, nuanced circumstances, your broker should be able to provide company financials to you, period. If they say that this doesn't exist or FedEx Ground contractors don't keep good financial, hogwash. We broker more of these contracts than any other business on the planet, and it's not really that close. And all but one of the businesses I've ever brokered in this company has had provided financials, right? The company provided financials that we would need to do an analysis on these businesses. So that is a threshold that I think needs to be hit basically no matter what. The nuance there is that if it was an open CSA that someone took over, staffed up and got operational, and there's maybe 3 months worth of operational that the expenses that they have, you're not going to have some of the more advanced, tax returns and things like that, obviously, because they don't exist. But still, there should be some form of bookkeeping that's been presented to the brokerage or the evaluation company to justify how they're pricing and plan to broker the business. On top of that, your broker should be able to provide a very detailed marketing strategy for your business. And that should include a digital strategy on getting in touch with buyers in the region that your business operates out of. There should be a pre-existing list of qualified buyers that broker has that are looking for the right opportunity in that space. The brokerage should have the ability to assemble a pro forma or a prospectus, something concrete and on paper that we can hand or send to people digitally to review so that they can get the finer points of the business and understand it, at least from a base level. They should have partners in the finance world that can help you wade through the very murky finance world right now. I know we've gotten some good news in the recent past about interest rates, but financing, logistics companies is not the easiest thing in the world. So having established relationships with bankers and lenders who understand the space that you're operating your business inside of is invaluable to you on both the buy and the sell side. And of course, the operational expertise that a broker can provide to help coach a buyer or a new investor into the space through the FedEx approval process is something that is worth its weight in gold to. I mean, that's the one thing where we're going to put all the work into structuring a deal and liaising our way through the twists and turns of closing one of these FedEx Ground deals. The biggest part of that entire process is the AIM, the assignee interview meeting. And that's at the end. So we've got to do everything. We've got to invest in lawyers and accountants and everything on the front end before we even know if FedEx is going to allow this to happen, which is unique to this space, this very, very unique space that we operate inside of. So having a brokerage that understands how to help buyers get to that, I think is hugely important, right? And then having an administrative and closing team on deck to be able to help with the paperwork, the enormous amount of paperwork that goes into closing some of these deals, being able to provide and draft templates of those documents to present to you on both the buy or sell side for your legal counsel to review is hugely important. It's going to save you a ton of time and money with your own legal fees, but also it's going to be very specific to the space in the deal that we're talking about. Inside of the logistics world that we operate in. So those at a very high level are the things that you should be looking for in a broker from either the buy or the sell side. Beyond that, I think that some of the more important aspects are just going to be the communication, right? How communicative is your broker? Are they checking in with you throughout the process? Is there someone else that you're consulting with that they're working with and are helping liaise conversations with? Those types of things are going to be hugely important when you're going through this process because there's so many moving pieces on all of this, both the buyer side and the seller side, especially if we have banks involved. There's always going to be FedEx involved. There's just a number of things, truck payoffs, all those things. If you don't have a communicative broker who's able to put all of those pieces together into one, cohesive pie for everyone to come and eat from, then you're going to really be in a world of hurt there. So when going through the process, that's my 2 cents on it. Josh, what would you add? I mean, is there something that I think, or that you think that I missed there?
No, I think those are the key points. That's really what I want everyone to think about. And those should be, at minimum, the things that any broker is able to do as you're thinking about listing a business, partnering with someone, because at the end of the day, it's not just a transaction. This is a relationship that you're building as you're helping them, as they're helping you, not just sell an asset. This is a business that you've built over the years and really created this value. And we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it and really what you deserve when you're trying to exit the space. Now, it's a lot of what we've talked about here around how a broker should help you prepare your business to sell. And everything Danny said is exactly right. There's a couple of things though that just, there's probably many of you who aren't quite at the point where you're ready to sell yet, or as a buyer, that's the furthest thing from your mind. You're trying to get in for the first time. And so I just want you to kind of help jumpstart the process for you in terms of thinking through the steps you need to take leading up to a sale, and the things that you should be thinking about from day one when you're building your business to make the exit more valuable and more possible for you. And Danny already mentioned the first one, which is financials. He talks about how it's something that should be a part of everything. We'll get in as a part of every transaction, but you as an owner should really be focused from day one on keeping really healthy ongoing P&Ls, balance sheets, and even cash flow statements if you can, monthly if you can. One, it's just a good practice for you as an owner. It's a great thing that you can do to stay on top of your finances, especially in categories like payroll, fuel, repair and maintenance, those high expense categories. And so if you can invest the time and resources to monitor these even weekly, it's better. And you'll catch those abnormal fluctuations before they balloon into major expenses. But the other reason when you're thinking about the end is making sure those are as clean as possible, as smooth as possible on the exit. Because in particular, if your buyer is using a bank, you will need as much of this as you can. And the cleaner this is, the easier the process is in the back end. So it's not just a recommendation for you as an owner to do this from day one for the health of the business, but exiting the business is significantly easier if you've done a really good job of keeping on top of those financials from the beginning. Now, the second thing is thinking through how you start to structure your business, especially as you continue to grow. So as you add terminals, as you expand beyond your initial investment, I would highly advise spinning up separate corporations for each terminal. And if you're in a terminal where you're doing P&D and line haul, ideally you have separate corporations for each. I know that feels annoying from an administrative standpoint, but it also means that you're going to file tax returns for each corporation separately. So there's cost to it, but keeping everything separate will significantly speed up an exit. Because when you go to leave the space and then you have to separate the financials across multiple terminals, and you have to pull the settlements apart, and you have to separate the payroll and then the fleet and all of that, it's going to feel a lot more painful than if you had just done it really simply from the beginning. It's what we did across all of our organizations. Every single terminal we were in, we had a separate corporation for each of them. And our team can help there and help through this process, and we can split apart that payroll. It's something we do all the time, split apart those businesses to do valuations, but it is just significantly cleaner, and it makes the banks a lot more comfortable if they can see the history of one business from the beginning, and they know that the buyer is getting that exact business. And the reason I keep saying that you want to make banks more comfortable is that the more comfortable they are with your numbers, the higher amounts they'll be willing to lend, the more buyers you'll have access to, the more competitive your business will be in the market. Now, this is a really critical one, and it's one I think people forget about all the time as contractors, which is that it's really critical that in the months and year leading up to selling, that you kind of flip the switch from spending everything on growth and building equity, and instead focus a little bit more on optimizing your profit margins. All the time, I see contractors who bring their business to sell while keeping their foot, the pedal to the metal on growth. And so they're adding extra drivers, they're bringing extra trucks, they're adding runs, they're adding territory, which are all great business practices normally. But if you're doing a ton of that right at the sale, it can make it a little bit more complicated to sell and even hurt the value of your business, which doesn't make sense intuitively. But if you think about it like this, buyers and banks in particular really value consistency. And so if when you're selling, they see a ton of changes, even if those changes are positive, it introduces uncertainty into what is actually being purchased. And so those oftentimes feel like, like I added 3 runs to my business. Why would the bank be upset? And it's purely just because we're valuing based on what those will produce, but there's not history to back that. So it can muddy the waters. If you have the right buyer, it can make sense, but I think it's more valuable if you can focus on optimizing and adding efficiency to your business leading up to a close and improving those margins, which will improve the NOI, improve the sale price of the business from there. And then the quick last 2 things that I want you to keep in mind, just so you don't get tripped up at the finish line, is safety is always critical. That safety should never be on the back burner. But it's even more so as you go to exit a business, because you do not want that poor safety score to be a surprise and damage a buyer's confidence at the finish line, or have a terminal manager bring it up in an interview. So emphasize that training, correct as many of those issues as you can in the year you're heading towards the sale more than ever. And then when it comes to your fleet, you want to try to time things so that your buyer's not about to inherit a fleet where every single tractor is at the end of its life. It can feel great for you as a contractor, but because you've gotten all the value out of the fleet, but the weak fleet value will hurt your multiple. Buyers won't pay as much, and it hurts the bank valuation. There's not as much value in the assets to back the listing. So, having a mixed fleet, maybe there's some new vehicles that you've added to the fleet. The newer it is, the stronger the fleet is, the higher multiple that your business can list at. So our team regularly helps contractors improve all of these metrics and their businesses throughout the year through our Profit Consult program. And there are plenty of contractors who use that for that purpose, even if they don't intend to sell for a long time. But in particular, as you're approaching that exit, we can help chart the roadmap to make sure that you're as successful as possible there. And like I said, a lot of this, I was mainly talking to contractors, but the same applies to all of you that are buyers, all of you that are looking to get into the space for the first time. It is essential that you pick a partner that will prepare you and work alongside you from the day you take over a business all the way up to an eventual exit. And it's never too early to plan that journey. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. It's a Yogi Berra quote. So whether you need a consultant to help you learn an industry and step confidently into a new acquisition, or you just need a partner to help you evaluate your business, improve the profitability, and prepare it for an eventual exit, our team is here to help through all of that. So that's the majority of what we wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to go through a couple of upcoming events and listings that I wanted to go through, and then we will open it up to Q&A. So as I'm going through this, feel free to pop any questions you have into the Q&A button at the bottom, and Danny and I will get to it in just a little bit. And like I said, it can be questions about what I talked about today or anything that's top of mind for you, and we'll make sure to talk about it. So first, I'm going to go through our new listings for the week. So first new listing is out of Kansas. It is 14 P&D routes at $999,995. It has a manager, 7 spare trucks, full-time mechanic on staff, and it's a territory with a full-time manager and some spare trucks. So a lot of kind of contingencies and efficiencies there if you're looking to get into that space. And again, that one's out of Central Kansas. Next one is out of South Carolina. This is 4 line haul runs at $1 million. This is a dedicated solo run and 3 unassigned solos. And so you get the combination of having both dedicated and unassigned, and this one has a potential for SBA financeability as well. Next one's out of Arizona, 20 P&D routes at 1.8 million. This one has a manager, 4 spare trucks, an assumable truck debt, and mainly newer vehicles as well in this. Next one we have here is out of North Carolina. This one is 16 P&D routes at $1,175,000. There's 2 managers here, 5 spare trucks available as needed, and it's rural territory, so easier on the drivers, lower turnover here as well, and then 2 full-time managers, and they're not operating on Sunday, which is always nice to see. Next one's out of Colorado. We got 13 P&D routes at $775,000. This one has a manager, 3 spare trucks, and is a really low mileage operation, and a full-time manager on staff as well. There's also some options around assumable truck debt and seller financing. So it's a pretty low entry price point to get into the space, and some options with financing as well. Next one out of Colorado is 11 P&D routes at $875,000. Another low mileage operation, still 4 spare trucks and a manager here as well. And this one has some opportunity to potentially be remote as well, if that's what you're looking for. The last one here is actually not FedEx, it is Amazon. So we've got a listing in Texas that is 20 to 30 Amazon routes at $800,000, and really efficient operation with managers in place. And if you haven't looked into Amazon from a fleet perspective, you get all of your vehicles through a lease program through Amazon. So it's a good area, good mix of urban, suburban, and rural here. So those are our new listings for the week. Any questions you have on any of those, you can reach out to the team. We'll send you the full details, the financials, everything you need there. Last thing I just wanted to quickly highlight are some upcoming events. So we do have all of our happy hours posted for next year everywhere across the country. All of those locations are live, and those are completely free to attend. Those are ones where there are both brokers and people from our team will be there, but it's also all the buyers and sellers in the area. We invite everyone to attend and learn about the space, to network, meet others in the area. And so that's an easy way, if you're looking for ways to engage with us in person, to go to that calendar, see where everything is for next year, and see if there's any time where we're in your neck of the woods. Last two are the expo. So if you haven't seen the expo, if you haven't booked the expo yet, you can register now. It's in Texas next year, and that is our big contractor party. It'll be a fantastic time. Contractors from across the country all come together. That one is free as well. You know, all your food and drinks, there's no cost to attend. It's purely just getting there and booking the hotel room, which is why we've got the hotel room link live. Those do sell out. So the earlier you can book it, the better rates you will get. So that is, I think, the first week of August as well. So all of those events, all of those things are in the chat. If you have questions on any of them, there are links posted there. But other than that, we will go into Q&A. And again, Q&A, you can post anything there. If you have questions, we're here to answer them. If you don't, we'll let you go. This is purely time for you all to ask any questions you have, and we'll answer them. And so I'm not seeing any questions right now. So if any of you are frantically typing, we will allow it. But it's also 4 days before Christmas. So I understand if a lot of your brains are fried thinking about all of the presents you have to buy, all of the trips you have to plan, and all of the travel you have to do. But oh, there we go. Okay, so I saw one question come in. So we got a couple coming through here now. So Eugene asks, Danny, so as a buyer, if he's buying from us, will he need to have his own lawyer to close? What does that process look like?
Yeah, I think he also had the nuance in there about being a part of our White Glove program. So that probably is something that he's been talked to about. Yeah, we're always going to recommend that you have legal counsel review the documents that we're going to assemble. In fact, once you sign up with our consulting program, we have draft templates of our just standard asset purchase agreement that you guys can review and start to tweak language on if that's what you want to do. Working with our consultants in that program is the best way to fast track your acquisition process and making sure that you have all your bases covered, from the acquisition side to the educational content to getting ready for the AIM to getting financing in place, even the vendor introductions, things that you're going to need like your insurance carriers and people to get your truck decal, everything that you can possibly think of. We've got a connection for you in one way or another. So, yes, to answer your specific question, you will absolutely need your own attorney. We're always going to recommend that. If you're comfortable with your grasp on business law, then maybe you don't need one, but we're always going to recommend that you have one just in case.
Yeah, it's one of those where the contract, you're saving money in terms of contracts because we're providing the templates, which a lot of times the drafting of those documents, the asset purchase agreements, the bills of sale is where a lot of cost comes in. And the ones that we're providing you are the ones, not just that we've used when we are, acting as the broker for all of these, but it's also the same contract template that we use when we bought and sold routes for ourselves. So those have been reviewed by hundreds of lawyers over the years. And so there may not be a lot for you to change, but like Danny said, it's just as a matter of course, a recommendation where I wouldn't want you to sign anything until you've had a lawyer review it. So it's up to you. You can always do it, but our recommendation is to have someone representing you read through the legal document. But we are there to provide as much of the basis as we can so that hopefully that process is significantly quicker and cheaper for you as you're going through that. And then, so here's a question from Anthony. So 2 questions from Anthony. The first one, how do you work with us? If you have any questions on ways we can help or ways that you're looking to get help from us, you can reach out to info@routeconsultant.com. It's in the chat as well, or you can go through our website and ask, just click the contact us button. If you're new, a buyer getting into the space, the main way that we help people is through our White Glove Consulting program, where we are there to act as a guide through the acquisition to teach you everything about the business and understand exactly what you're getting into, do evaluations as well of, what is the business really worth and how can we help make sure that you pay the right price for the business. And we'll do that even if you're not buying through one of our listings. We'll help with that evaluation process with any listing in the space that you're looking at. The second part of your question is, what's the turnaround and total cost for buying a business? So if you're not using us as a consultant, the cost is really the price of the business that you're paying. And then there are a couple of little things that you may be paying at the end, dependent on how you structure the deal. So if you're using a bank, there's typically bank fees. Often those bank fees can be rolled into the loan amount, but there are, fees there as well. There can be there will be sales tax transfer fees on the fleet when you're buying the business, but the costs there are going to be a function of the deal structure and what you go into there. We do have consulting programs as well that are designed, like I've said, to guide you through the process, help make sure you're as ready as you can be for stand up. Now we've actually done a couple of webinars over the last few weeks talking through some of those closing costs and those things to be aware of at the close. So if you go to our YouTube, I think it was Danny and I even who did a lot of those different cost structures, and you can see on our webpage if you want to see some more detail on all of the things that go into that. Last one here, I'll let you answer, Danny. So do you have any listings or contacts in Northern California? Do you know anybody in the FedEx space there?
Hey, I'm in the FedEx space there. That's part of my region for sure. Yeah. No, we've got some great offerings in California. A lot of our stuff in the Central Valley right now. We do have some Southern California listings and a few in the in development stages. We value them here through peak season. That'll be in the northern area of the state. So yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me, Daniel.Robinson@routeconsultant.com, or just ask for my email when you reach out to info@routeconsultant.com if you can't remember how to spell my name.
Yeah, and it's timing of year wise right now, a lot of contractors are very focused on surviving this last week before Christmas and making sure that they're as successful as they can be in this peak season. And then, we're in the process of evaluating a lot of listings and getting those live in the new year. All right, I think that is the last question I have, and I'm not seeing any others come through. So you've got about 10 seconds as I close this if you're frantically typing here. So thanks everybody for joining today. Thank you, Danny, for always being a part of this and being here to answer questions for clients. Always a pleasure to have you on here. And for everyone else, hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if we don't speak before then. And we will continue on this journey together in 2024. So thanks everyone for joining today, and we'll see you next time.
Merry Christmas, everyone. See you guys.